The miracle you're searching for in the sky is already breathing within you, not in some distant future, not in someone else's story, but here, now, in the quiet rhythm of your own being. You've walked through days feeling ordinary, carrying doubt, fatigue, maybe even quiet despair. But what if I told you that beneath all of that, 9 silent powers have been working, shaping your resilience, your choices, even your unseen potential? These aren't superpowers from a movie. They're not reserved for the enlightened few. They're woven into the very fabric of your humanity, waiting like seeds in winter soil for the right moment to bloom. And today, we'll uncover them, one by one. We'll dust off what's been there all along. We spend so much time looking outward for signs, for validation, for a breakthrough. But the truth is, your life already has an inner architecture, not built by luck, not granted only to the chosen, but woven into your being by the simple fact that you are human. Think about it. How many times have you surprised yourself? That moment when you handled a crisis better than you expected, when you forgave someone you thought you never could, when you kept going even when every fiber of your being wanted to quit. That wasn't coincidence. That wasn't borrowed strength. That was these 9 powers working in silence. These 9 powers aren't mystical secrets. They're the quiet forces that keep your heart beating when you're exhausted, that help you choose kindness when you've been hurt, that let you try again even after you've lost count of how many times you've fallen. You don't need to earn them. You don't need to prove you're worthy. You only need to awaken them by noticing they're already there. So take a deep breath with me now. Feel your chest rise and fall. That simple act, that's power number 1 in motion. You're already connected to something greater than your doubts. One, self-awareness, the mirror of truth. Awareness isn't about fixing yourself. It's about seeing yourself clearly, without distortion. Like a still lake reflecting the sky, not judging, not resisting, just mirroring truth. Think of someone who always says, "I'm just bad with money." That's not a fact. It's a story they've repeated so often they've forgotten they can rewrite it. I knew a woman who said this about herself for 20 years. 20 years. She'd laugh it off at dinner parties, make jokes about being financially cursed. But one day, sitting with her coffee, she caught herself mid-thought. Wait, am I actually bad with money? Or am I just afraid of making the wrong choice? That moment of awareness, that honest looking, changed everything. Not because she suddenly became an expert, but because she stopped fighting a false identity. Within 6 months, she had her first savings account. Within a year, she was helping friends budget. When you stop fighting your thoughts and start observing them, you reclaim your power to choose which ones to feed. Two, emotional honesty, your soul's navigation system. Emotions are not flaws. They're data from your soul. Fear says, "This matters." Grief says, "This was loved." Anger says, "A boundary was crossed." But somewhere along the way, we learn to apologize for feeling. Sorry for being emotional. I shouldn't be upset about this. A woman once told me she felt guilty for crying after a promotion because she should be happy. But her tears weren't weakness. They were the release of years of pressure the relief of finally being seen, the grief for the struggling version of herself she was leaving behind. Here's what changed her life. She started asking her emotions, "What are you trying to tell me?" Instead of silencing them, she listened. Anxiety became her early warning system for overwhelm. Sadness became her compass, pointing toward what truly mattered. Even anger became a guardian, protecting her energy and boundaries. When you honor your emotions instead of silencing them, you turn pain into wisdom. You transform your inner storms into your inner guidance. 3. Pure intention, the power of authentic action. Ask yourself, am I doing this to be seen, or because it aligns with who I am? Pure intention has no audience. It doesn't need applause. I think of the nurse who stays 5 minutes longer with a scared patient, the teacher who writes detailed feedback even though no one checks, the parent who apologizes to their child when they've made a mistake. These moments aren't performed, they're lived. There's a man I know who started volunteering at a local shelter. He never posted about it, never mentioned it at work. When I finally discovered it, I asked him why he kept it secret. He smiled and said, "It wasn't secret, it was just mine." That's pure intention. Action taken not for external reward, but for internal alignment. And that's why it lasts, because it's rooted in truth, not performance. When your actions come from pure intention, you stop exhausting yourself trying to maintain an image. You start living from your center. 4. Intentional words, the architecture of reality. Words are not just sounds. They're vibrations that shape reality. Every time you say, "I'm stuck," you reinforce a cage. But when you say, "I'm learning," you open a door. A man struggling with anxiety began replacing "I can't handle this" with "I'm handling it one breath at a time." Within weeks, his nervous system responded, not because life got easier, but because his language changed. But here's what most people miss. It's not just the words you say out loud. It's the conversation running in your head all day long. I always mess things up. I'm not good enough. Nothing ever works out for me. These aren't just thoughts. They're spells you're casting on your own life. Start listening to your inner narrator. When you catch yourself speaking limitation, pause. Ask, "Is this the story I want to keep telling?" Then, gently, offer yourself a new sentence. "I'm learning from this. I'm growing stronger. I'm exactly where I need to be." Your language isn't describing your life. It's designing it.
Number 5. Meaningful silence, the space where wisdom grows. In a world shouting for attention, silence is rebellion. It's in the pause between breaths that you hear your intuition. Ever notice how your best ideas come in the shower or on a quiet walk? That's not coincidence. That's your mind finally getting space to speak. I learned this from a CEO who credited his success to strategic silence. Every morning before checking his phone, before coffee, before anything, he sat quietly for 10 minutes. No meditation app, no special technique, just sitting. He said those 10 minutes taught him the difference between reaction and response, between urgency and importance, between the voice of fear and the voice of wisdom. Silence isn't empty. It's the soil where clarity grows. It's the canvas where your next right move appears. In our rushed world, silence feels like luxury. but it's actually necessity. It's how you remember who you are beneath all the noise. Number 6, micro actions, the compound interest of change. Grand transformations are built on tiny, consistent choices. One page, one kind text, one deep breath before reacting. A writer didn't finish her book in a month. She wrote 200 words a day, rain or shine. Sick days, busy days, uninspired days, 200 words. In a year, she held a published novel. But here's the deeper truth. Those micro actions changed more than her manuscript. They changed her identity. Day by day, she stopped being someone who wanted to write and became someone who was writing. Think of the mother who began leaving encouraging notes in her teenager's lunch. Just a sentence. Proud of you today. You've got this. It took 30 seconds, but it planted seeds of belief that would bloom for decades. The businessman who started calling one old friend each week. 5 minutes, just to check in, no agenda. Within a year, he had rebuilt a network of genuine connection. Don't underestimate the power of showing up, quietly, every day. Rivers carve canyons, not with force, but with persistence. Number 7, patience with process, trusting the unseen growth. Patience isn't passive waiting, it's active trust. A tree doesn't rush its growth, it trusts the seasons. There's a woman who planted an oak tree the day her daughter was born. For 3 years, nothing seemed to happen, just a thin stick in the yard. Neighbors joked, family suggested giving up, but she kept watering, kept believing. In year 4, something shifted. The roots, unseen but growing all along, had finally established themselves. Suddenly, the tree shot up, branches spread, leaves multiplied. 20 years later, her daughter graduated college under that tree's shade. Your life, too, has its own timing. What feels like delay might be divine preparation. What looks like stagnation might be root deepening. The job interview that didn't work out led to the perfect position 6 months later. The relationship that ended created space for your soulmate to appear. The project that failed taught you the skills that made your next venture thrive. Trust the process even when you can't see the progress, especially when you can't see the progress. Number 8, letting go. True surrender, the art of divine trust. Surrender isn't giving up. It's releasing the illusion of control. It's saying, I've done my part. Now I trust the unfolding. A mother prayed for her son's healing for 3 years. She researched every treatment, consulted every doctor, never stopped believing. When he passed, she didn't stop believing. She realized love doesn't end with breath. Her surrender wasn't defeat. It was expansion. She began volunteering with other families facing similar struggles. Her pain became her purpose. Her loss became her gift to others. She learned that sometimes what we think is the miracle we need isn't the miracle we're meant to give. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop trying to be God in your own story. The moment you stop forcing life into your script, space opens for something even better to arrive. A plot twist you never could have imagined. A solution more elegant than any you could have designed. Number 9, unconditional love, the foundation of everything. You cannot pour from an empty cup. True love begins when you stop treating yourself as a project to fix and start honoring yourself as a presence to cherish. The kindest person you know, they likely spend time alone tending to their own wounds because you can't give what you don't have. I think of a therapist who spent years helping others heal their self-criticism, but at home, her inner voice was harsh, unforgiving, relentless. One day, a client asked her, "If you spoke to me the way you speak to yourself, would I come back?" That night, she looked in her bathroom mirror and apologized to herself for years of internal cruelty. She began speaking to herself like she would to her best friend's child, gentle, encouraging, patient. The change wasn't just internal. Her relationships deepened, her work became more effective. Because when you are whole within, your love doesn't seek, it flows. When you accept your imperfections without becoming them, when you love your journey without comparing it to others, when you honor your growth without rushing your timing, you become a sanctuary in a chaotic world.
These 9 powers aren't meant to be admired from afar. They're meant to be lived, breathed, embodied. So here's a gentle invitation, not a rigid program, but a loving experiment. Week 1, choose your focus. Pick the power that called to you most strongly today. Maybe it was emotional honesty. Maybe it was letting go. Trust your instinct. Your soul knows what it needs. Days 1 through 3, simply notice. Where is this power already present in your life? Where is it missing? No judgment, just curiosity. Days 4 through 7, take one micro-action. If you chose self-awareness, pause before a difficult conversation and ask, what am I really feeling? If you chose intentional words, replace one limiting phrase with an empowering one. If you chose silence, give yourself 5 minutes of quiet each morning. Week 2, deepen your practice. Reflect. What shifted in my mood, my choices, my energy? What resistance am I noticing? What small victories can I celebrate? Week 3, expand your circle. Share this power, not by preaching, but by living it. A word, a gesture, a moment of presence. Let your embodiment be your teaching. Week 4, integration. Notice how this one power has touched other areas of your life. How has emotional honesty improved your relationships? How has letting go created space for new opportunities? This isn't about perfection. It's about showing up for yourself with curiosity, not judgment. It's about remembering that transformation happens in moments, quiet moments when you choose love over fear, presence over distraction, trust over control. Because the world doesn't need you to be flawless. It needs you to be awake. It needs you to be real. It needs you to be you. You are not waiting for a miracle. You are the miracle in motion. Every breath you take is an act of courage. Every choice to be kind to yourself and others is a quiet revolution. Every moment you choose growth over comfort is you saying yes to your own becoming. These 9 powers have been with you all along, in every stumble that became a step forward, in every tear that washed away what no longer served you, in every choice to try again, to love again, to believe again. So go gently. Trust your inner rhythm. Honor your unique timing. And remember, always remember, the power you seek has been living in you all along. Thank you for listening to the silence within you today. Thank you for choosing to awaken what was always there. Until next time, stay present to your own magnificence.